Hey everyone, welcome back to Ryan Milky 14. It's Ryan here, bringing you deep dives into the world of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and all things fantasy. And after what feels like forever, House of the Dragon is finally back. Season 3 is officially underway. Now before we break down everything that happened in episode 1, I think it's important to remember exactly why we are in this story, because this isn't the beginning of the Dance of the Dragons anymore. The war has already begun. The blood has already been spilled. Lucerys is dead, Rhaenys is dead, the realm is divided, and perhaps more importantly, the dragons themselves are now becoming weapons of mass destruction. At the start of this episode, there are still 16 living dragons, but fans of Westeros history know what comes next. Roughly 80 years later, during the events of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, there are none. That's the shadow that hangs over every single scene in this episode, because House of the Dragon isn't really the story of dragons at their peak. It's the story of how they disappear. And episode 1 delivers exactly what you'd expect from a season premiere. Political intrigue, major character moments, huge book changes, and one of the bloodiest battles in all of Fire and Blood. So let's break it down, starting with the character who may have undergone the biggest transformation of the entire episode, Rhaenyra Targaryen. Rhaenyra, sheep stealer, and the need to belong. One thing I really liked about this episode is that it reminds us that not every battle is fought with swords. For Rhaenyra, her battle has always been personal. For her life, she's watched other members of her family bond with dragons. Daemon has Caraxes, Baelor has Moondancer, Aemond has Vhagar. Even younger members of her own family have dragons, but not her. And for a Targaryen, that's more than disappointing. It's identity, it's purpose, and it's belonging. Which is why her pursuit of Sheepstealer feels so important. This isn't just about claiming a dragon, it's about proving that she matters. The interesting part is that this storyline represents one of the biggest departures from George R.R. Martin's source material. Book readers know that Sheepstealer's rider is somebody else entirely, a dragon seed named Nettles, a character many fans expected to see in the series. Instead, the show appears to be merging these storylines together. Whether you love that, or you hate that, it's definitely one of the boldest, creative decisions the show has made so far. And by the end of episode 1, it becomes clear why. Because Sheepstealer is about to become a major factor in the war. King's Landing is falling apart. Meanwhile, in King's Landing, everything is unravelling. And I think the most fascinating character in this episode might actually be Aemond. Because Aemond now has exactly what he's always wanted. Power, the throne, control. But the moment he gets it, you start to realise something. Aemond really doesn't know what to do with it. He rules through fear, he rules through anger, he rules through intimidation, and that makes him incredibly dangerous. One of the first examples comes when he threatens Grand Maester Orwyle. Aemond wants answers, he wants somebody to blame, and when he can't find those answers, people start dying. It's a stark contrast to Viserys, a stark contrast to Rhaenyra, and even a stark contrast to his brother Aegon. Because while all of them had flaws, Aemond increasingly looks like someone willing to burn the entire realm if it gets him what he wants. Aegon and Larys, the strangest of alliances. Speaking of Aegon, his storyline might end up being one of the most important moving forward, because while everyone thinks that the king is defeated, he's still alive, and more importantly, Larys Strong is still playing the game. The thing about Larys is that he's survived every ruler so far, Viserys, Otto, Alicent, Aegon, Aemond, and the reason he survives is pretty simple. He adapts. He has no ideology, no loyalty, no grand cause. His loyalty is to survival. So when he smuggles Aegon away from King's Landing, he isn't doing that out of love. He's doing it because he believes there is still a future where Aegon becomes useful, and in Westeros, being useful is more valuable than being powerful. The Blacks gain strength. On Dragonstone, we continue to see the consequences of Rhaenyra's biggest gamble, the dragon seeds. Last season, this felt desperate. Now it looks brilliant. Suddenly, Rhaenyra has more dragon riders than ever before, and that's shifting the balance of power dramatically. But here's the problem. Dragons aren't armies. and neither are the riders on them. And people are unpredictable. Ulf especially stands out, because unlike some of the others, he doesn't seem motivated by loyalty, he seems motivated by opportunity, and House of the Dragon has repeatedly shown us that ambitious men are often just as dangerous as enemies' armies. Alicent's gamble. Another standout storyline is Alicent, because she's trying to stop the war that may already be impossible to stop. Her deal with Rhaenyra is fascinating, not because it's guaranteed to work, but because it shows how completely Alicent's perspective has changed. For years, she believed she was protecting her family. Now she's trying to save what's left of it, and that's a huge difference. The tragedy is that she may simply be too late, because events have already escaped everyone's control, even hers, even Rhaenyra's, even Aemon's. The war has become bigger than the people fighting in it. The Battle of the Gullet. And then we arrive at the episode's biggest moment, the Battle of the Gullet. The battle has been anticipated for years by book readers, and the show absolutely delivers on scale, chaos, fire, dragons, naval warfare, and devastating consequences. What makes this battle so important isn't just who wins, it's what it costs. Every major victory in the Dance of the Dragons comes with a terrible price. And that's the recurring theme of this entire story. Nobody wins cleanly. Every success story creates another tragedy. Every victory creates another loss. What brings us to this episode's most heartbreaking moment. Jacaerys has spent much of this season trying to prove himself worthy of his family, worthy of the throne, worthy of the future. And during this battle, he finally gets the chance to become the hero. But House of the Dragon isn't interested in heroic endings. The dance destroys everyone, and Jace becomes another victim of that reality. For Rhaenyra, this isn't just a military loss, it's personal. Another child gone, another piece of her family taken away, another reminder that this war is consuming everything. Okay, and now for my final thoughts. What I loved most about this premiere is that it understands what makes House of the Dragon different from Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was about who would win. House of the Dragon is about what happens when everyone loses. And episode 1 sets that tone perfectly. The dragons are bigger, the battles are larger, the stakes are higher. But underneath all of that spectacle, there's still a story about a family destroying itself. And every episode brings Westeros one step closer to the end of the dragons. And that brings us to the end of House of the Dragons Season 3, Episode 1. And what an opening episode this was. The Battle of the Gullet has finally arrived, and straight away the show reminds us exactly why the Dance of the Dragons is remembered as one of the darkest chapters in Targaryen history. We saw dragons unleashed, we saw major losses, we saw political schemes continue behind the scenes, and perhaps most importantly, we saw how every victory in this war comes with an enormous cost. Because that's really what House of the Dragon has always been about. Nobody truly wins. Every gain comes with sacrifice, every triumph comes with tragedy, and every dragon that takes to the skies brings us one step closer in Westeros to the end of an entire era. What I loved most about this episode is that the balance, the spectacle with the character moments. Rhaenyra dealing with the impossible choices, Alicent trying to hold together a family that's already tearing itself apart, Aemond becoming the most dangerous with every episode, and characters like Rhaena finally stepping into a much larger role. There are already so many questions heading into episode 2. What happens after the devastation of the Gullet? How will Rhaenyra respond? What consequences will Rhaena face after claiming Sheepstealer? Can Alicent's secret plan actually work? How much longer can Aemond maintain control before everything spirals completely out of control? The war is escalating, the dragons are gathering, and it feels like we're only just getting started. But before I go, I want to say a huge, massive thank you to HBO for allowing me to continue to cover these incredible stories from George R.R. Martin's world, whether it's House of the Dragon, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, or anything connected to Westeros. Being able to share this journey with all of you every week is something I genuinely appreciate. I've spent years loving this universe, reading the lore, discussing theories and crafting videos about these characters and stories. So getting that opportunity to dive into a brand new season and break down every detail with all of you is something that I'll never take for granted. And of course, thank you to everyone watching these videos. Whether you've been here since my early Game of Thrones content, or you're recently found my channel through A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, your support means more to me than you know. The comments, the theories, the discussions, likes, shares and subscriptions all help keep these videos going. And honestly, some of the best conversations I've ever had happen week to week down in the comment section below. What was your favourite moment of episode 1? How do you feel about the Battle of the Gullet? What do you think of Sheepstealer's introduction? And where do you think the story goes next? Drop all of your theories, predictions and reactions down below because I read as many comments as I possibly can. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you do not miss another House of the Dragon and all of my coverage throughout Season 3. I've got more breakdowns, lore videos, Easter eggs and theory videos coming very soon. Until next time, thank you for watching. I've been Ryan and I'll see you in the next one.